was looking at our podcast stats online, and I noticed something. I noticed something interesting. All right,
What's that?
is that, believe it or not, we are the #1 anime podcast in Afghanistan.
What?
Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it?
It's unbelievable, really, to be honest. Why?
I really have no idea. If you're a listener from Afghanistan, leave like a comment or a review on Apple Podcasts or something saying why you, as an Afghani person, love the Weeb Crew so much. What I'm really trying to say is, welcome to the Weeb Crew Podcast, the only anime podcast supported by the Taliban.
Jesus fucking Christ!
I am your host, Psyotic, aka Ghost, and I'm joined today by my co-host.
What am?
Say your name.
Have we just reversed the role? Okay. we should probably contextualize a Mumi. There you go. Why?
And how old are you?
7 years old.
Oh,
Perpetually.
What are you doing on this casting couch? Get the fuck out of here! You know, we only make those videos in the Philippines.
Oh my god. Yeah, we should probably okay. Okay, so what are we doing here?
That's a great question.
So I don't know if any of y'all have gone and listened to any of our older episodes. I've tried.
No, I haven't. I tried a few months ago when we were like close to being monetized on YouTube, and I wanted to boost our like watch hours. So I was like, I'm just gonna go back. I'm gonna listen to like all the old podcast episodes, and I really couldn't.
Yeah, they're
really not good.
They're kind of hard to listen. I mean, I going back to like the first episode, I was listening to it earlier. I was like, this isn't as like bad as I remember it being.
There's so much dead air.
There is, yeah.
And we don't really know how to like speak or hold a conversation.
I sound like I'm doing like
funny.
I sound like I'm doing like a voice critical impersonation.
Something like that. I don't know what the hell is going on. Yeah.
God.
I don't think we really knew what we wanted to do with the podcast when we first started. Well, no. What I thought we were going to be doing was just like a shitpost parody of like anime podcasts, which is why I'm doing like all this weird shit, like slurping my drink and stuff. And then you wanted to do something more serious with it.
Yeah, I don't really know.
You didn't want it to be just like a big joke.
No. I guess we can get into. So the whole purpose of us doing this, right? If everything pans out correctly, as it should, this episode will be going up the week of, what is it? The week of October 7th.
Of October.
Yeah, the first week of October, which coincides with the second anniversary of the Weeb Crew on YouTube. And I guess
that really just speaks to how incompetent we are that it's the second anniversary and not like a 1 year later kind of thing. No, 2 years later. Because
I mean, there wasn't really anything to like reflect on after 1 year.
Not really. Yeah, what the fuck were we doing with this channel 1 year ago?
Fuck.
I think we were just starting to make like regular videos.
Yeah, we did. I think we were just coming up on like the 1 year anniversary of Cyberpunk Edge Runners, which I would say the Cyberpunk video we did is like the turning point in our content, I think.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, that's when we kind of like started selling out.
Yeah.
That's when things got worse.
We really fell off. God damn.
We really fell off. You know, we just started clout chasing. We made a video on like Bochi the Rock and Lycurus Recoil.
What the fuck happened to us?
Yeah, we just started making a bunch of seasonal videos, complete sellouts, episode reviews. Just clickbaiting people with we've always clickbaited people with hentai in the thumbnails. What am I saying?
That was literally a day one event.
that was literally like with the I guess in the club room reviews as we originally conceived of them. the joke was just going to be we just like find porn on like Rule 34 or something of a character from the show we're talking about, and that would basically just be the thumbnail.
Yeah, basically.
But it turns out that's not
specifically
really how...
BDSM porn.
But I guess we misread YouTube's like the YouTube audience, because those videos didn't perform very well despite having like horny thumbnails. So
I mean, the Mashoko Tensei one was doing all right until YouTube nuked it. Because the thumbnail was too shout out, leave a comment if you remember what the original thumbnail for that video was. You OGs.
Yeah.
Or the majority of you still listening to this fucking podcast. I mean, to be fair, all the original thumbnails, if they existed, are just at the end of the video in the ransom note.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, if you're curious,
those videos are funny in retrospect. Because it's like we had originally conceived of them because like we were like struggling to get like the podcast out more frequently because we wanted to like have interesting topics, so we didn't want to have like a 1 to 2 hour podcast episode where we just talk about one anime. So we're like, we'll just do like a 10 to 20 minute like mini podcast, and then those progressively just developed into regular YouTube videos that are like a hybrid between podcasting and like video essays. It's very weird.
Very weird. I like them though. I'm glad that we're doing it.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, from what I've like shown to like completely random people, they're like, yeah, that's a weird format, but I think it really works because I'm not even really aware of like any other like content in general on YouTube like that, let alone anime related.
I mean, it's not really far off from like Red Letter Media's stuff. Which is,
I guess not.
Our obvious inspiration.
Obvious.
Maybe it leans a bit more into like video essay territory than their stuff usually does.
Yeah, there's is a bit more of like just like a conversation generally, whereas we really try to. For those who don't know, like those videos we record for maybe like over an hour.
Every single time. Oh, it's easy over like an hour and a half. Easy.
Yeah, and then that gets like whittled down into like 10 to 20 minutes. It's very funny how much is left on the cutting room floor with those.
I very much take the murder your darlings approach to content creation.
Yeah. Which if you want to listen to the uncut audio, we've now completely sold out.
We have a Patreon now.
I honestly, and this is something I wanted to do almost like day one. I wanted to do an OnlyFans. And Mumi said that would be grossly inappropriate. Even though, by the way, you can have an OnlyFans and not post nudes on it. It can just be like a Patreon, essentially. Like, I don't think a lot of people know that.
Well, that was the push.
Yeah.
Right? They want it to be like Patreon, but
and
that's why they're trying to get rid of sex workers.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to have a platform for stuff like that, but it is just very funny how it turned out. Although they've probably made far more money doing that than like directly competing with Patreon.
Oh, for sure.
So they found their weird fucking niche.
But yeah, Patreon. We have one of those. We also have made. I guess I should say that I made a Weeb Crew Twitter account.
Oh yeah, you did.
Weeb Crew
yeah.
Twitter. So that will be used for Weeb Crew shit. You won't be using my
your own
Twitter
personal Twitter now, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really like a personal Twitter. It's just like a content Twitter.
Give me like the password to that too, if you don't mind. That way I can just like shit post on it.
Yeah, I need it because I'm really bad about using shit like that. So
yeah.
Yeah, so lots of exciting things going on after 2 years of the Weeb Crew.
After 2 years, we're finally doing things. I mean,
we have a little bit of an audience built up now. We got 3,000 subs. We've just recently crossed 3,000.
Literally just hit 3,000 subs. What else? Oh, we do have merch.
We do have merch.
We do have stickers you can, really overpriced stickers you can buy. It's kind of grotesque. Not even, I mean, like, $5, whatever. Who gives a fuck? It's like a sticker. whatever. But then, like, didn't you say like the shipping is like also $5 on top of that?
It's $4.25. It's a flat rate. At least it's in the US.
Yeah, so it's a flat rate. So what we're saying is, if you're gonna buy a sticker, buy it in bulk and then give them out to your friends or put them up on lampposts around your town.
Well, if we ever do make more merch, you can just get that sticker for $5 and like a T-shirt, and it would still be like $4.25, I think.
A cheap Taiwanese made T-shirt. Let's go. That's how you really know you've made it.
The shirts actually look all right. Like, I mean, you can choose what kind of shirt fitting you want, and they look okay.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking about like the actual like printing process for how they get like that stuff on there, because a lot of the time it's like really like cheap. Like, do you know how people like? Have you ever made like a T-shirt before?
I mean, I've painted.
Where you just have like this like mesh stencil, and then you have the ink, and you just kind of like rub the ink through the mesh stencil onto the shirt.
Yeah, that wasn't as readily.
It's really really low quality.
It wasn't as readily available back in the 1920s, so we had to like paint our T-shirts.
Oh, that's when they were still locking people into clothing factories.
We had to draw with an ink pen every single line.
When Mumi was growing up, he had to hunt his clothing off wild animals.
I had to shear the wool to make my sweaters.
What was it like to domesticate sheep for the first time?
It was curious. I couldn't tell you who the first person that found cow's milk was. I don't know what they were doing.
I don't know. There's some weird fucking like degenerate fetish, like something out of like that scene in Ideon.
Oh my god, the fucking
Piper Lou.
Piper Lou, fuck that kid.
Piper Lou.
This is
Piper Lou would be someone who would domesticate cattle.
He would. This is a very fucking obtuse and roundabout intro to this fucking podcast.
It really is. So yeah, why are we here today?
So since it was a 2-year anniversary, I was like, it would be a fun idea because, in the first episode we talked about like our favorite anime, kind of introduced ourselves a bit, and our favorite anime in that one, both yours was Fullmetal Brotherhood, mine was Evangelion, and
no, it wasn't. My favorite anime is Planety. What are you talking about?
What?
My favorite anime has not been.
That's what it is now.
Oh,
you're the brother.
Oh, it is.
You're the Fullmetal Alchemist guy.
I guess Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is my favorite anime. Everyone.
Yeah, you've been lied to by yourself.
I'm kind of normie like that.
Yeah. Like, so yeah, we had that going. We had that duality, and I was like, they both have remakes. Why not remake our first episode or like reboot it in a way? It'll be the rebuild of the Weeb Crew.
So you're saying this is going to be demonstrably worse than the original?
I don't know how it could, to be honest, but
that's a great question. Here's how it could be worse, Mumi.
What the fuck are you doing?
It's time to read fan mail.
No, we're not reading fan mail. Jesus.
Yes, we are, because if you remember, I gave out your address a few episodes ago, and I don't know how this happened. Somehow I ended up being the one who got doxxed, and I just ended up receiving a lot of fan mail that we're now going to read on the podcast.
I can't believe we're doing this shit again.
All right, so here we go. I'm not going to read like a return address or anything. That would be completely inappropriate, even though we've already been doxxed and these people are taking advantage of it. Let's just see what this first one says.
Not even going to read who it's from?
Well, I'll read who it's from at the end, because that's what it says.
Oh, okay.
Hi, the Weeb Crew.
Hi.
I found your podcast from the Happy Console Gamer episode, and I have been enjoying your episodes ever since.
Oh, that's nice.
I went back and listened to your episode with William Chow and thought it was really nice. Keep up the good work. I'm looking forward to more of your stuff in the future. Best, Jim.
Wow.
That was pretty nice.
Yeah, it's almost like they're a real person. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. That was nice. Let's see here. We got this one. All right. Hi, Mumi and Sai, or Ghost, or whatever the fuck your name is. Oh, okay.
Kind of aggressive.
Now that I have both of your home addresses, talk about Night on the Galactic Railroad or I am going to dox you. Looking forward to more reviews. I now own both of you. And then like it's like at the end it just says like dash and you know who. And then they like did like a little like winky face.
I don't know who, and I think it's illegal to own people. I think they
it is. Well, unless you're a prison, but
true, yeah. Well, they don't own them. They just take advantage of a loophole.
They just exploit them.
Yeah, they're just exploited. They're not owned.
I guess we have to talk about Night on the Galactic Railroad now if we don't want to be doxxed. This is troubling. Well, let's just go to the next one, all right? Hey Mumi.
Hi.
It just says you and it's not addressed. All right, it's not addressed to me. I've been a fan of yours since your Haruhi video and have been listening to the podcast since it started nearly 2 years ago. I joined the Discord at one point, but decided to leave because I thought your co-host, Psyotic's behavior was too neurotic and generally inappropriate to be around. Hopefully you can just get rid of him at some point and replace him with someone who is more friendly. Best wishes, Rachel. Well, fuck you too, Rachel, all right? We don't want you in the Discord server, I guess. All right. Okay, we're batting like 1 for 3 right now in terms of having like nice, like I mean, this one was nice for you at least. So, here we go. This next one. Oh, hey Weeb Crew, kill yourselves. That's all it says. There's no. It doesn't even say who this is from. That's it.
Could you describe the handwriting? Does it look the same as the other 3 letters?
No, it doesn't. No, this okay. So the other ones were actually like nicely like written and stuff. I think one was typed up. This one is like, this is written on wide ruled notebook paper. They tore it out. They didn't even like take the frills off the side. They just crammed it into. This wasn't even like folded properly in the thing in like the envelope. I don't know. Next one. Hey Weeb Crew, kill yourselves. It's the same guy. It's not addressed. It's the same fucking wide ruled notebook paper. All right. One more time. All right.
3rd time's the charm.
Hey Weeb Crew, kill yourselves. God fucking damn it. All right.
You didn't realize that you pulled out the wide ruled notebook paper? It's the same guy?
I was unfolding it. I was holding out hope, and it just said "kill you." That's all she wrote. All right, it's all.
How do you know it's a she?
It's like a phrase. It's a, you know, it's like it's not. Doesn't really. I guess I am assuming their gender. And that's not. I guess the fact that the only letter we've gotten that was mean specifically to me was from someone named Rachel. My sexism is just through the roof, all right?
Can you identify the pen ink?
It's written in pencil.
Can you identify the pencil?
It literally looks like a 5th grader wrote this. All right.
Okay,
we got the last one, all right?
All right?
The last one. It's gotta be good.
We've lost like 30% of our audience for this fucking
nonsense. No, people love fan mail segments and podcasts. That's why every podcast fucking does them. All right. Hey Weeb Crew, why don't you both fucking hang yourselves, assuming the rope doesn't break? You Well, yeah, we're never doing this. We're not reading fan mail ever again.
Thank fucking God.
This was a mistake. Anyway, we're rebooting the first episode of the podcast.
We're rebooting it. We're not remaking it. So I don't want to talk about our fucking favorite anime. We're not gonna re-talk about fucking Scamper the Penguin again.
I really want to talk about Scamper the Penguin.
We haven't rewatched it, so we're not coming back. We're not doing memories of Scamper yet. That's not on the agenda.
It's not in the agenda.
Today, I figured we'd talk about like why we're here, why we made this channel. That seems like a good introduction. We never actually like talked about
Well,
it.
because I think we didn't really have a good idea of what the guiding ethos for this podcast or this channel was at the time. We were just kind of like still trying to figure it out, even how to mix the audio for our podcasts.
Yeah, I don't mix the audio now. I gave up on that.
Yeah, we have a much more streamlined pipeline now, which is why these episodes have been coming out hopefully a bit quicker. We're gonna have there's gonna be one hell of a turnaround for this one.
Yeah.
Usually we record like a couple weeks in advance, which is why we can never be fucking topical, because at the time, like, by the time we talk about any sort of current events, those current events are going to be like a month old by the time the episode comes out. But this one we're recording just a few days before it releases because we're really bad at scheduling.
Yeah.
We're also just really lazy.
It'll be interesting.
It'll be fine.
Well, at least you don't have to worry about the audio first, and then we can worry about the video component.
Yeah, that's another nice thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we for anyone who's unaware, we have shifted to where we are now going to be releasing the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the podcast platforms.
The episodes go up on every podcast platform that isn't YouTube.
We've already done this bit.
Like,
we don't need to retread the bit.
Yeah,
but yes, they go up.
So it goes up on all that bullshit like a few days in advance, and then
it goes up on
like
Monday.
Fridays is when it goes up on YouTube.
It'll go up on Monday.
It goes up
and Friday
on Monday, sometimes Tuesday if I like fuck up and I can't meet the deadline.
True. But then at the end of the week, at the end of that week that they came out on podcast platforms, it'll be up on YouTube. So gives some incentive for you to go if you want to listen to it earlier.
Listen to us on Podbean. I still don't know what the fuck a Podbean is, by the way.
Flicking bean.
Oh god, riding bean. Remember that video? What the fuck?
That was over a year ago.
That was over a year ago.
But yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever think we'd get this far?
Yeah. I mean, I'd figured I would get this far.
Okay. Well, did you ever like? Could you ever have like imagined like this channel being what it is when we first started?
No, it's definitely like that's the thing about like collaborative efforts, right? They definitely like take on their own identity that's distinct from like the individuals involved. Like it is very much like like if you know who we are, it's very much like Mumi and Sai is involved, but like it's a very different thing than it would be if it was just you, or if it were just me, or if it were like you and somebody else, or me and somebody else, right?
It'd probably be a lot better if it was me and somebody else. Honestly, you can go fuck yourself. Fuck you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you.
But yeah, it's definitely. I definitely wouldn't have imagined it being. I mean, obviously, I had like an image of it to some degree. I mean, we're not super far off from where we were as far as like the background kind of image was the same, similar kind of image I had in my head.
We're still not on camera, and we will never fucking appear on camera.
Probably not. No,
probably
unless
not.
There's some kind of like serious monetary incentive.
Serious monetary incentive. Geeks Plus, hey, get back to us. Come on.
I don't know if I mean, I guess we can kind of get into like the ethos of like why we do content creation shit, right?
Money.
Exactly. No. I don't know if I've said it on the channel. I've said it numerous times elsewhere at least. I might have said it on channel at some point, and I just don't remember. But being a fan of like anime shit in like the early 2010s, specifically like 2012 to 2015 kind of range, right? YouTube content kind of sucked, and then you got like the Plinkett stuff that came out, and half in the bag started happening. And I was always like, why isn't there like a half in the bag, but for like anime shit, right? Like, why don't you just have people that know what the fuck they're talking about, that are able to like kind of concisely and like in an informative way and like entertaining way, get across their opinion, give you some kind of like valuable insight to shit, anything like that about like just anime instead of movies, right? Like there's no one in the space that's really doing that to like what I thought was like my standard.
There were like things kind of similar to that. Like, do you remember like Beatrice doing like the plebe and the weeb?
That would have came a little later.
Content. Those sucked, but
I never could like watch much of them. Let's put it that way. They didn't scratch the same itch.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that definitely informs a lot of my content creation process on the video editing side, as well as like we just talked about it with FD, so I don't want to like retread it too much, but like Joe's content very much was influential on like how I do things. Obviously, we're not imitating Joe's content in really any regard. Like no one's gonna watch our stuff and be like, "Oh yeah, this is obviously Joe's kind of content." Like,
they're definitely in like the same like sphere of content creation.
Yeah, but
I mean, we are, but very disparate styles.
We're just kind of like just half in the bag. But oh my god,
that's what we're.
What the fuck was that?
I was describing our content.
Yeah,
just peeking the microphone. Jesus Christ,
fucking hurt. What the fuck?
We have a very abusive relationship.
But anyone in that space that's I've watched before making videos, it's always been like very frustrating to me to like see their content and like how much I valued their content versus how well their content kind of performed.
That's always the lovely thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like
yeah.
It's like we almost don't even like deserve their fucking like it's a fucking stupid thing to say, but it just feels that way. It's like fuck.
It is frustrating. We were talking about this we talked about this a lot, is that you look at like video game discourse and what does well when it comes to like analytical video game content on YouTube, and it kind of embodies or magnifies the best and worst parts of anime content on YouTube, where really good analytical content for video games generally does pretty well, or at least is more likely to do well than at least what I think is like very like well put together, well made analytical anime content. But on the flip side to that, then you also just have dog shit, outrage merchant, people just getting pissed off at people on Twitter because they have pronouns in their bios, like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I think it's also just a matter of, well, are people in general really that interested in super, like, not even super analytical, but just analytical content regarding anime in general?
Yeah,
I think so. I think there are a lot of people who are, but not exactly as much as like when it comes to like movies.
There's definitely like a very tangible ceiling there.
Yeah. Anime is still kind of seen as like this, even though it's becoming more popular, more mainstream, it's still kind of seen as like this vulgar thing where there's not much like interesting to talk about with it.
But yeah, seeing that, I always kind of was like, man, there should just be like, there should just be like a content that fills like the bridge between,
right,
the jokey, like, hey, I'm Giga,
hey guys, let's go,
like that kind of like funny man shit, and then like the video, the stuffy video essays are like, Crayon Shin-chan changed my life when he shoved his ass in his teacher's face. It made me cry. Like that kind, like, why isn't there like a middle ground, right? Like,
yeah, right.
There very probably much is a middle ground now, more so than there was. But that was kind of what
you look at like Joe's newer videos or like any of Jaden's videos, and they are still pretty jokey.
Yeah.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
They have gotten over the years, I say, a lot better in terms of
appealing to normies.
Appealing to normies. I'd say just being like more accessible through humor.
Right.
Because I think both of think both of their videos are like very, very funny. A lot of, but then again, maybe I also just have a weird sense of humor.
But yeah, I kind of view the way that I approach content as like those two things, right? There should be like a red letter media kind of like, laid back, people kind of knowing what they're talking about, able to talk about things in a more in-depth way, and a bridge to like more intellectual spaces. I mean, I'm not saying like there's like a fucking intellectual deep web shit of fucking like anime, right? Like,
oh my god, you're making it sound so sinister.
I'm not.
The intellectual dark web. Do you remember that fucking like stupid meme that was going on a few years ago?
No.
Like Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro, Sam Harris, the intellectual dark web or something. It's really lame. Here's a picture up on screen of how lame it is.
Jesus, I can just imagine this picture because there's not actually a picture, and I'm just reacting. Jesus. But yeah, there's not like some fucking super deep intellectual space out there. The videos that are out there that are more in that space they're more intellectual than fucking Giguk, but come on, right?
Yeah, well,
I don't want to make it sound like it's like, oh, we're the intellectual class, or that kind of bullshit.
Yeah, but I think I don't want to be like, oh yeah, we're anime experts or whatever.
We're professionals.
I mean, we're not really. We're not. I think we know more than your average person, and we kind of we both go to YouTube videos, especially when it comes to anime and manga, in order to like learn something, to have some sort of like new takeaway regarding either a specific piece of media,
right,
or anime and manga in general. And we know more than average, your average like anime fan. But there's still a lot that we're unfamiliar with, that we don't know, and there's like a lot of stuff that could be talked about that isn't talked about. So we're not really satiated with a lot of analytical discussions of anime on YouTube, because, and we've talked about this before as well, a lot of anime discussions are just kind of regurgitating things that have been talked about ad nauseum for like the past several decades. Yeah. You look at like the sub versus dub shit. There are literally people who were talking about that shit online in the 1990s, early 90s, and yet we're still just rehashing that shit like 30 years later.
So you're saying you want to do a sub versus dub video?
No, I don't really care. I really don't care. Who actually gives a fuck? If
I would be kind of interested to talk about it from the perspective of
to a certain, yeah,
because like I won't get into it that much in case we do talk about it, but like I was interested in doing voice acting at one point, like 20 years ago.
Oh, interesting.
So
the way I'm thinking about it is almost like if you speak Japanese, if you know Japanese, the way that you consume like anime, especially anime on television, is going to be very different from someone who doesn't understand Japanese but is still watching it in Japanese with English subtitles. Right. Because if you know Japanese, you can just like listen to it. You can listen to the anime, and you're not necessarily having to give it your full undivided attention because you need to read the subtitles. Whereas if you are reading the subtitles, you're really like locked into that experience.
I'll say my general kind of perspective is like, they're not necessarily wrong in that dubs are generally worse than subs, but the reason behind it is much more nuanced than people kind of
I don't want to be like, oh, it's just English voice acting cringe or whatever, because
no. That's not the reason why. Like,
no, I mean there are American animated productions that have really good voice acting. So it's like it's not an issue with like it just sounding cringe in English inherently because we're familiar with the language.
I'll say people are too quick to defend English dubs as a industry. I think it comes from a good place.
It's kind of
because people do like clown on fucking voice actors for no good reason. To be honest, it's really not up to them how the quality of the dub comes out.
Yeah,
but that's for a video, right? If you want to watch that video, leave a comment in the comment zone and tell us how much you want to see a video on subs versus dubs from the Weeb Crew Podcast.
Yeah,
on your screen right
On your screen right now. What the hell were we talking about?
Content creation.
Right.
And stagnation in the discourse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I very much I go into content wanting to take a new perspective on the thing we're like talking about, right?
Yeah, you are very concerned with not rehashing or saying something that someone else has already said.
Yeah, I mean, I give grace to it to a degree, right? Like, if you're talking about, like,
Right.
Bochi the Rock, right, when it's fucking just aired, obviously a lot of people want to talk about it. A lot of people are working on videos congruently at the same time. They're not...
Concurrently, not congruently.
What the fuck ever? Like... You're making me having to record this at 11 o'clock at night. Just give me some fucking break, man.
Say it. Go back and re-say the fucking line.
Yeah, people are making videos like concurrently.
There you go. Yeah.
God fucking damn it.
Daddy's happy now.
But yeah, you have to give them grace, right? Like they're not going to be aware of what everyone is saying when everyone's making videos at the same time about the same thing. It's definitely worse for me if you're making something on like a community thing, and it's like, why is there so much interest in anime? And you're just like, this has been talked about for fucking 30 years. Like, fucking just look it up.
Yeah, just look it up. There's like, I mean. And even still, if you're gonna make a video on that, fair enough. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about with that, but I think a general awareness of what has already been said and then being able to identify gaps in that is an underappreciated skill set, especially on YouTube.
Well, it's like I said, right? Like, there's a lot of nuances to the sub versus dub thing that aren't being touched on. So if you have gaps in your knowledge filled and you can fill in that gap in the general discourse, go for it. Like, that's an interesting thing. That is actually valuable information, right? That's not valuable is just be like, yeah, you shouldn't follow the 3-episode rule because, you should just watch what you want. It's cool, man. You don't have to watch 3 episodes.
Like, wow, what a profound sentiment. I clapped because my feelings
Stunning
have been
and brave.
affirmed.
How could you say something so brave?
How could you say something so controversial yet so brave?
Exactly. But yeah, that's my general, like, I view it as like, it is very much a good thing to be aware that you have a lot of blind spots in like your perspective or like your general kind of consumption of media, right? Like, me and you, we both appreciate a lot of different elements of anime, right? Like, I think we do a pretty good job of trying to like tie our appreciation of all the individual kind of elements together. But even us, like, we still have a lot of gaps in our perspective. Like, we're only limited to what we have. Like, we're not omniscient.
Yeah, well, we also, with the stuff that we talk about and the stuff that we, like, focus on when it comes to anime, that also just generally tends to be different. Like, even just between the two of us.
Yeah.
I tend to focus much more on cultural perspectives, production, and stuff like that. Whereas I've always felt that you are much more adept at, like textual analysis, themes, how stuff relates to you on like a more personal level.
And like I feel like I have some strengths in those elements, and like especially with like database stuff, because I spent fucking 10 years watching shit. So before I made videos, just because I was worried about that specific thing.
Yeah, where it's like, oh man, have we seen enough? I think we've seen enough anime, especially between the two of us by this point.
I've seen.
And yet people still call us tourists.
Actually, I don't think anyone's ever called us a tourist. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Maybe on that Rebecca short.
I don't think I've seen that on the Rebecca short or the Comey short. I mean, they've said stuff
call
similar
us a tourist
to that
in the comments.
They said stuff similar to that, like similar sentiments, but it's never been like specifically calling us tourists. Let's put it that way.
Very funny.
But yeah, I do think I am pretty good at like the database thing, specifically because like I'm able to draw, like I do remember things about anime pretty well, so like I'm able to draw like parallels between shit where I'm like, oh yeah, I've gotten pretty adept at that. But there are a lot of gaps. Like I do have an interest in visual storytelling and stuff like that. I could do it on a competent level. Like most of the fucking anime reviewers out there who do it decently, I probably could do it about as well as they could, to be honest. Like anyone that's out there like, oh yeah, not saying like the best of the best or anything, but like the ones that do it competently or decently, if you enjoy it on like it's pretty good, like probably on that level where it's just you can take a scene and break it down and point out like the elements of like how it's conveying this emotion or whatever. I could do it on that to that degree. But obviously somebody who has like a heavy background like film could probably do it much better than I could, just because they have that database and like that experience with film and the cinematography and like looking more in like camera angles than I ever would have, because I'm not that deep into films, right? And then somebody who just generally has different perspectives is going to generally have a different take about like themes or like, you know, the takeaway of shows. Like we recently recorded a video for a show that should be coming out hopefully this month.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
Oh my god!
I keep getting shit in my throat.
Like cum in your throat? What the fuck?
It's all that cock sucking I'm doing on myself. Yeah, hopefully within like 2 weeks of this video going up, fingers crossed, this video goes up. That's what I'm shooting for, but no promises.
You're really putting yourself in a precarious position to hold yourself accountable for the case that video does not come out in 2 weeks.
We'll go for it though. We're shooting for it. That video is very much about like our specific interpretation and like perspective of that show, right?
Yes.
Somebody else could come away with a very different perspective of that show based on like their experience. And it goes back to like what we were talking about with you know, the whether stuff is like codified and like queer coded and shit like that. Like you're going to have a different experience with a piece of media if you have a different experience in life in general. It's just I don't think a lot of people cultivate that.
We don't really know much. I think we both have like a cursory understanding of how anime is made, the anime production process, and how animation works. But we're not particularly. We don't have a very like in-depth knowledge of animation. And I think what's interesting is and this is something I wish I saw more of, is like you know, the YouTuber Dong Chang. He is an animator, you know, he's working in the anime industry, and he makes really interesting videos talking about different animation techniques, especially when it comes to anime. So stuff like that even, you know, and that's obviously being informed by not necessarily him like reading up and researching these, but through his own lived experience of working in the anime industry as an animator.
Yeah, and I think that kind of thing kind of is reflected in our content too. Like, you know, when we talk about something that we're not necessarily as well versed on as we might like, we'll bring on like we're very much open to bringing on somebody that we know is more well versed in that subject than we are. And
absolutely, yeah.
That's very much like we're putting the content over like just us, right? Like it's like almost like the lack of ego where it's like, oh, does this to be our video? It's like, well, we need to make the best kind of video on this subject we can possibly tackle. So
yeah, well, something that I like in general that I think now that we're trying to achieve with this podcast is that we want to have two kinds of podcast episodes, essentially. We want to be able to do stuff like with Richard, like with Gil, where we're talking about like something very specific, and this is something they're very knowledgeable on. So we can then just sort of like probe them, ask them questions, stuff like that. But then I also want to do stuff like the episode we did with FD, stuff like we did with like Happy Console Gamer, along those lines, where we're just kind of having a more casual conversation, talking about stuff back and forth.
Yeah, like
so going forward, those are like the two kinds of podcast episodes. I want to have that sort of duality going on, where we can kind of, you know, we can have more like in-depth discussions about one singular topic, but we can also just be able to like shoot the shit about whatever fucking anime, because we've seen enough by now that we can talk reliably about, you know, old shit, new shit, popular shit, obscure shit, whatever.
I mean, hey, if you want to talk about fucking Battle Shonen, I mean, I could talk about that shit too. Like, come on.
Yeah.
We'll talk about.
I don't know. Maybe if you want to talk about shoujo manga, we're gonna be at a bit of a loss because we're like, neither of us are even manga guys. But
yeah, shoujo manga specific. I could talk about like Nana and Skip Beat, or
you can talk about magical girl anime, but
I talk about some stuff. But
yeah,
it's, you know, it very much ties back into like what I was kind of saying about my perspective, because I almost kind of view myself almost as like, you know, the saying of like jack of all trades, expert of none kind of thing. Because like I've very much dabbled in like a lot of different shit in my life where, you know, I would say I was like decent at drawing. I never really like committed to it in any long term, where I could have been probably much better. But I don't think I'm bad. I wouldn't say I'm like the greatest, but I also wouldn't just say like I'm complete fucking shit. And then I also did like, you know, bands. So I have, you know, cursory understanding of like music theory, and I could read music, which is some more than a lot of people that play music can do.
Yeah, I can't even really read sheet music that well.
But I wouldn't say I was like adept at music theory. I don't like really delve deep into it. I don't pick up on like sound motifs and shit like that.
Don't have like perfect or like even like relative pitch.
I have pretty decent pitch, I think.
Okay.
Which also ties into, I guess this is introducing ourselves a bit. I did like 4 years of theater. Which tied into, because I actually originally joined theater because I did want to do voice acting.
You really and judging by how you're clearing your throat right now, do you think you'd make it very far?
No, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have to go far. Funimation's just like 30 minutes down the road. I mean,
yeah. I guess you do have the natural buff of living in Texas. Think about it, Mumi. Think about it. In another life, you could have been getting canceled on Twitter instead of.
I think I would have been born a lot earlier to do that, to be honest.
Nah, it's fine. You've already committed enough atrocities.
But yeah, it's like I did theater in middle school because I wanted to do that, and then I ended up not doing it for my first year of high school because like my middle school experience was fucking horseshit. But I had friends that were in theater and they're like, oh no, it's actually really fun. So I ended up getting back into it for 3 years and was inducted into the International Thespian Society. Yay.
And he's now been doxxed.
I don't think that doxes anybody. But yeah, so I've got like this cursory, like deeper than like your average person, but just like a very kind of cursory understanding of a lot of different elements that go into like media in general, right? I don't have an expertise in any of them specifically. I mean, the closest thing you say I have expertise in would be just I've seen fucking almost 1,400 fucking anime. That's my expertise. Yeah. But as far as like
these are our credentials.
As far as like textual analysis or music theory or just acting or shot composition, filmography, cinematography, whatever the fuck, like I don't have an expertise in any one of those things specifically.
Yeah.
So that very much reflects in like how I kind of approach media where like,
well, I think even the fact that you are aware of your own limitations like that, and included with that, you know how to research something. Those two things together really go a long way, especially when it comes to making content on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know if it comes across when you're making videos and stuff, but like a lot of the people who are making videos might not necessarily know much more than you do, right? It's just that they're willing to go out and research the thing that they're wanting to talk about and fill the gaps in their understanding. Like, what the impetus for why I started making videos ultimately ended up being was when I rewatched Haruhi and kind of watched it with like the framing of, you know, Kyon being the god or whatever, because that's always been like a meme, right? Like people are like, well, Kyon's actually the god. It's always like a fringe theory, right? It's not like
this isn't something that you would just come up with. This is something that had been talked about previously on like, you know, forums, 4chan, stuff like that.
Right.
But no one had really talked about it on YouTube yet.
No, well, there was one video that talked about it, and it very much approached it in the same way you're kind of describing of like it, or like I'm describing, I guess, where it was just like a fringe meme theory. And so it was like, is Kyon the god? That's just a theory. And it's just like,
oh, like that.
Yeah, it didn't actually like touch on anything about that aspect. Granted, I think that video was much grander in scope than like I probably was really able to appropriately handle for my first video.
Actualize.
Yeah. I feel like if I went back and remade it now, I would have done it much differently. I feel like some kind of the layers of what I was trying to do were kind of lost because like a lot of it does come off as plot synopsis, even though it's just me kind of taking elements of different episodes and like pulling the elements specifically that can be read both ways. But the ultimate like kind of whole ultimate theme of the video was talking specifically about different people's perspectives and how the show is supporting both the readings of this like, you know, Kyon being a god or Haruhi being a god.
Yeah.
And how people can come away with different perspectives and different readings of this show and how the show is facilitating that. And, you know, just
two mutually exclusive perspectives as well.
Right.
I say mutually exclusive, but they can also coexist at the same time.
It's not like this,
which is something I don't think a lot of people understand when it comes to media analysis a lot of the time.
Yeah, and it's not like this is like coming completely out of thin air, right? Because like the whole show focuses on it in the last few episodes.
Well, you and Jaden even like talked about this a bit when we had him on when it comes to the light novels for Haruhi.
Right, but yeah, it's very much focused on in the text itself, where they're like saying, you know, the perspectives of this faction are different than the perspectives of this faction, and they're explicitly saying this, like this is supporting multiple worldviews, I guess, in the text itself. So it's like the text itself is facilitating this dual worldview of, you know, is Kyon potentially the god since he is the author or the protagonist that you're in
the narrator.
Yeah. Or is Haruhi the god, and because she is the one that's been explicitly said to having the powers of a god or whatever. It's facilitating both those readings at the same time. There's probably more readings in there if like you're just fucking out your gourd, right? Like you have way different experiences. But like people don't really touch on these things. And so like the whole video was like be saying like, yeah, this is here, this is present, and we should value other people's perspectives and like try to like, you know, engage with them so that maybe we can learn something new and augment our own perspectives. That's been my whole experience with like YouTube, right? That's all I want is to like go watch a video, be entertained, and like learn something and take away something of value. I want to be able to like watch something on Bocchi the Rock and have somebody be like, yeah, this scene, the way that they use the musical motifs are actually calling back to this film or this, you know, orchestration or something, and that was about this. It's almost like Princess Tutu, right? Like in Princess Tutu, they use musical motifs to call back to ballets, and those tie into the plot itself. Like I'm very much that's kind of how I engage with media. I'm very much looking at the different elements and trying to weave them together of like how they are coming together to make this greater point, right? And so I value videos that help facilitate that for me and like give me a perspective that I would never be able to come up with on my own, or like I could have potentially if I did more reading and like was able to draw different things eventually, but like just somebody who's like more experienced in that field would be able to do it much easier than me, right?
I watch a lot of like nature like content on YouTube, like animal fact videos or like, you know, geography, archaeology, history videos, stuff like that. Much more so than I watch anything like media related when it comes to YouTube, in part because I know fuck all about like geography and stuff like that. And these videos are made with the expressed point of being informative. So it's very easy for me to just be like, that's interesting. You know, that's why I watch like a lot of like science contents. And to a certain extent, that's what, so the kind of like content that I value when I go to like media discussion videos is that I do have some sort of like interesting takeaway where I do feel like I've learned something rather than, beyond just, oh, this thing is really good or this thing is really bad or just what the fucking plot of the goddamn thing is. Please stop making videos, please, that are just plot synopses. Just you're so much better than that.
Your jokes are not adding to the Wikipedia plot synopsis.
I ever told you I actually had an idea for, like, I wanted to make a YouTube channel where, because there's like a lot of like YouTube channels that will literally just recite like a plot synopsis in a snarky tone, essentially, like thinking like nostalgia critic types. So people do this like a lot of like bad Netflix movies. And what I really wanted to do is just, I wouldn't write any scripts. My script would just literally be the Wikipedia plot synopsis, but I read it in like a snarky, sarcastic tone with like a smug cartoon avatar on screen. I'm not adding anything to the Wikipedia plot. It's literally just the Wikipedia plot synopsis, maybe with a bit of preamble and closing, and that's it. Just to sort of parody how fucking dog shit that kind of content is.
It'd probably be amazing how many people that would be lost on.
It probably would be. It really would be. The best, unironically, the best videos like that, that kind of embody that format, are Stars, like, basically videos on stuff like the 100, or I think like that Netflix movie Titan, because it's literally not that. It makes itself seem like it's just a plot synopsis, but he's also like warping and misrepresenting certain things deliberately in order to make it funny. And the videos that are, they're like not 20-30 minutes long, they're like less than 10 minutes long, so they're really dense and really funny. So stuff like that is cool. But in general, when I watch YouTube videos, I am generally hoping to have some sort of takeaway, something interesting, something I've learned either about the piece of media or the media in general. And now I'm just repeating myself because I don't really have that much to say. But that's generally what I look for in a lot of YouTube. Whereas, it's like what FD talked about. And I think a lot of people, watch anime and they don't really want to think about that shit, which, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you to put your fucking thinking cap on. I fucking watch tons of shit that I literally, if not to just shut my brain off, if to literally force my brain to shut off. I watch a lot of like teen romance movies on Netflix because they actively harm my ability to like cognitively process information, because thinking sucks a lot of the time.
So what you're saying is we're basically the opposite of like most people. Where they watch anime to turn their brain off. We watch movies to turn our brain off.
We watch movies, exactly, yeah. Which, maybe we're just neurodivergent.
I don't know if that's the way you diagnose that, but
no, that's fine.
Yeah, I think all of that kind of informs our content, right? Because we're both very willing to kind of be upfront. Like it might not come across explicitly in our content because we're not gonna like sit there and be like, well, this is just RP, because there's not really use for that. It's kind of explicit. It speaks for itself. It's a fucking opinion.
Yeah.
But it does come across. I think it does come across where it's like we very much just talk about elements that resonate with us and stand out. We don't try to like cover something in its totality.
No, absolutely not. I know that you have kind of like struggled with this to an extent where we've talked about something and I've seen you take extensive notes on something we're talking about, and you're like, well, I want to say everything that I have to say in this video about it, because it's not like we're going to make another video about it at any other point.
That was definitely something more at the beginning, I think.
Yeah, and we've definitely like now adopted, like you said, a kill your darlings kind of mentality to it, where it's like, well, who gives let someone else talk about this. We don't need to make, and we don't want to make the definitive video on anything we talk about.
I just don't think any one person can make a definitive video, because you're one person, right?
It's that's kind of just hubris at that point.
You can have the best video. That's definitely a possibility. But
right.
A definitive video, like you could have a fucking 20-hour video series on some, an anime or something, and you talk about like every single fucking frame, every single whatever the fuck, and someone can come along and make a video that's like 5 minutes to talk about something that you didn't even touch on. Like, you're never going to have
even Steven's videos. His videos in like Hideaki Anno, Sudochikon, the entirety of the fucking 4C catalog. Those are exhaustive videos. Those videos have a lot of information, and at the same time, they are not covering everything. They are not like definitive. They are not, Steve did not make the video on Evangelion, and now there's no need for any further Evangelion discourse.
No one ever is going to make the video on Evangelion.
Yeah, because what I really admire about content, media content that I like the most is that they explicitly don't try to be like covering everything. They really just laser focus on one specific aspect of this media that they think is interesting and that they want to talk about.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we do, because I kind of view like in the same way that I view our content as almost like a bridge into getting into like the more intellectual kind of deeper context of like cultural context or textual criticism or whatever in anime. I view it as almost like a starting or a jumping off point for talking about those shows in that way, because like we broach on the subjects for a lot of these shows. Like I talk about the kind of parallels of like Bosozoku culture in Japan and modern day kind of Sigma male shit or whatever the fuck. We broach on those kind of subjects, and it kind of starts that kind of conversation. But I don't.
Yeah, so we'll mention stuff in passing, and I think to a certain extent, our hope with that is that someone will see that and be like, "That's interesting. I want to look into that more. I want to talk about that more."
Yeah,
and then that leads them down their own rabbit hole.
Or even if it's not even that specifically, like, right? What if it could still that talking about that could potentially influence somebody to talk about something else that they see? Like, well, I didn't really see that. I saw it this way, and then they talk about it in a way that we didn't even see. Like, that's just kind of how I view media. Like, I want to see those perspectives. I want to get that different kind of take, because that's why, like, I really appreciate a lot of the time. I appreciate seeing like the criticism of stuff I enjoy. Obviously, not so much nowadays, because there's not like new criticisms to a 30-year-old show at this point. But I'd appreciate getting those different perspectives of like, well, why didn't you like the show? Why did I like the show? How do those perspectives kind of diverge, or
Well, it's one of those things where content that is more critical of anime, just as a whole, or critical of anime fandom. I'm thinking back to like our stream with like FD, is that I think that those can often touch on like very interesting topics that I want to talk about more, which is what we ended up doing with that stream. And I think that turned out really well as a result. And instead of, just being like, we must refute this video or something stupid along those lines.
Well, there wasn't really anything to refute. Like, it wasn't like it was wrong.
Yeah.
It's just like the framing was kind of like misguided.
Well, it's not even misguided. Well, there's just like, again, so much. People probably have like these experiences watching any sort of video where it's like, they didn't touch on this this thing that I know really well, and they didn't really talk about it, and now I want to fucking talk about it. And then, we at least have the benefit of this YouTube channel where we can sort of catalyze that into making like streams, videos, podcasts, whatever the fuck. Other times, and when I can't do that, I'll just fucking neurotically rant on Discord about it.
You are a professional at that.
Absolutely. It would honestly be interesting if more YouTube videos, not just on anime, but in general, just started off with, so I was watching this video and I brought up something interesting that I want to talk about in more depth.
Yeah. I mean, I would venture to guess there are a lot of videos that come from that place. They just don't explicitly say it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is just because like you don't want to be like that asshole. That's like, yeah, I was watching this video and it was kind of shit. So I want to talk about the thing that they were talking about, so I can show you how much better I am. Like that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't even say it like that. More so, just like media analysis is like just an endless conversation. Essentially, there is no end point.
Yeah,
it would be interesting to see that sort of conversation more clearly reflected in like YouTube content, and that's something that I think we're trying to do with this channel now.
Yeah, I almost view our channel as almost like a cultural hub, I guess, in a way. Or like, yeah, it's very much like our space, but it's like I want to more commentate in like a wider sense and kind of be more like open. Like I don't want to be like, you know, oh, we can only have me and you talk about something. Like it's like, well,
yeah,
if we can bring someone on that can give valuable insight into something we want to talk about, bring them on. You know, like
right. Well, yeah, I like this sort of like rotating door of guests that we have going on right now.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what you were saying a little bit with, you know, the different kinds of episodes with like FD and Johnny episode became more like laid back and just kind of like, yeah, that show. And then like the more in-depth episodes with like Richard and Jaden. It kind of goes back to that. That also goes back to the bridge thing, right? Where it's like, we have those episodes to kind of almost make it like more digestible when we have like the more in-depth episodes. Like you bring people on from the fun episodes talking with like these other personalities, and you have like a more in-depth episode that kind of is able to, you know, feed them this information a little bit. That's kind of how I view our content in a wide sense. Very much like bridge, introduction to said bridge, and just like fostering a space to like encourage like wider and better discourse. However successful we may or may not be, still that's kind of what I hope to do.
I think that there is, when it comes to anime content, there is a networking gap, I would say, to a certain extent. I think you said there's like a new like AniTuber server or whatever where people are like talking about like shit. And to a certain extent, I would like this channel to also kind of be a nexus point for that sort of thing as well, where we can have on all these different content creators related to anime or not related to anime, and it kind of act as like this sort of hub where anyone can come on and talk about anime and hopefully have a positive experience and interesting conversation with us about whatever the fuck when it comes to anime. And then, you know, we can progressively just kind of I don't want to say collect. That makes it sound very sinister, like we're like bug collectors and we're just taking like the YouTube guests that we have on and we're just, you know, putting them in like a little glass case and putting them up on the wall. Makes it sound like fucking sociopaths. That's crazy, isn't it? That's fucking wild. Who would ever fucking do something like that? That's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to just like have, you know, for this almost like an anthology, something along those lines, where, you know, we have like all these different kinds of guests on talking about something unique and different every episode. But all still relating back to anime. I think a common criticism I've seen of like a lot of like anime podcasts, from like what I've read on like Apple podcast reviews and shit like that, is that by far and away the most common criticism is that the podcast does not talk about anime enough, and hopefully that won't ever apply to us. I hope we always talk about anime a sufficient amount.
I don't think it could, to be honest, because I can't relate to many people outside of anime. So
yeah. We don't have much going on in our lives besides just this
and work.
We're very sad people.
We've almost kind of fallen into the niche of like, we're not necessarily talking about anime explicitly on the podcast, more as much as like anime space.
Anime spaces, anime discourse, history of like anime fandom, and I think that stuff's really interesting. But I mean, we also talk about anime plenty, I think.
Yeah, like on the fun episodes, it's
We're
more
not
so.
yeah, we're not like we're not just like talking about like random, completely unrelated or anime adjacent. I'm doing air quotes in case that's not clear. Anime adjacent bullshit.
Be sure to
like,
subscribe to the Patreon for the video version where you can watch Sai do his air quote.
Oh God. So that's something also I want to keep like consistent is like, you know, we are a fucking anime podcast. We're not going to be talking about like politics of like current events.
We'll definitely never be talking about video games ever.
Absolutely not.
Definitely don't
not
have
once,
2
never.
episodes about video games.
But even still, I mean, those are like one-off things. I wouldn't want that to be like I did like the news, like I did like the fan mail bit like earlier in the episode, and like there are podcasts that will do that for like half the fucking runtime, and it's like, what is this? What's the point of this?
Yeah,
which I guess that's like a similar thing as well, where like the way we approach like podcasts is similar to how we approach videos, where we are deeply insecure motherfuckers. we are incredibly insecure, and honestly, to a certain extent, I feel like we're just not very confident in our just our own individual ability to just be inherently interesting.
I think
listen to.
Well, I think if you watch this or I guess listen to this episode and you go listen to like the original first episode, I think they were definitely improving.
Yes,
this podcast has definitely facilitated some like improvements in like how I speak to people, which is funny because like I work in a job where I deal with people on a daily basis, but like
same, yeah.
Even still, like doing the podcast has made me more like aware of like vocal takes I might have, or like the filler and like the way I kind of approach like speaking and stuff. It's made me more mindful in how I approach and like say things. Essentially.
Yeah, and that's not to say we're perfect. If it comes across like we've improved, a lot of that probably also just has to do with the fact that we're editing these more.
Are we?
Oh God, yeah, we didn't fucking edit any of like those early episodes. I don't think.
Not the first.
We maybe cut out like a little bit of like dead air, but
I think about episode like 4 to 6 kind of range. I was doing a lot of cutting.
Yeah, that's when we started like adopting like a mentality. It's like, no, we need to like tighten this shit up. Holy fuck.
Which I agree with. I just don't know if we were doing it the correct way. But for at the time where we were at,
yeah,
it was probably the best way we could go about it, I guess, without just taking vocal training lessons. But I think we've improved.
Yeah, hopefully. If you have any sort of like actual criticisms or like, you know, suggestions for how we could improve our content, we actually would really appreciate it.
This is Sai begging for engagement.
No. I'm not even on. I'll leave a comment. Like, I don't know, fucking join the Discord, and you know.
How you're just begging for people to join the Discord.
I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, I think as a content creator, you definitely want more critical feedback, and you want to be able to, you know identify flaws in your content and how you can improve on those and grow as a content creator.
Yeah, there's definitely like a fine line to kind of, you know, balance there, right? Because like
constructive criticism is the key.
Yeah, I don't want to say like have that bumper to it. Because like saying like, well, constructive, it makes it sound like you're like kind of dismissing criticism if it feels too negative in a way. Like I think that's the kind of air it puts off to some people sometimes. Like, oh, only criticize if you have constructive criticism. Don't tell me I'm a loser or something like.
It would be good to know if someone like absolutely fucking hates our podcast to know why.
Yeah, that goes back to what we were saying. You know, what I was saying earlier, like that's why I like having the perspectives of people that don't like the shit I like.
Yeah,
you know, it definitely puts things in a better perspective for you to kind of look at it. Especially like content creation, right? Like if you know why people don't like your podcast, then it makes you kind of examine what you're doing and potentially improve in areas that you might be lacking, that you might have blind spots to. It all ties together. Content creation, how you consume media, how you live your life. They're all the spherical entity. They all tie together. They all are an Ouroboros eating their own
sounds
ass.
like some new age bullshit. It sounds like you're about to like start selling me like essential oils or like crystals that'll heal me.
Well, I am.
Oh. Go down to the Weeb Crew merch store to get healing crystals.
Oh yeah. Since it's a 2-year podcast thing, we can talk future of the channel or whatever the fuck. Current state of the channel.
Current state of the channel.
We do got merch. We got stickers up. We talked about that.
Yeah.
If you have,
maybe we'll add more in the future.
If you have merch ideas that you would actually want, it would be valuable to let me know what kind of shit you might want.
I've given you merch ideas, like the one like no head guy.
Your merch his merch ideas are fucking awful. You don't want me to fucking make merch based on his fucking ideas, okay? If you want something you'll actually buy, I can come up with some shit at some point, but it might take longer. If there's like, it would be good to know if there's like shit that you're like, oh, I really want a Weeb Crew mug with fucking Mumi's face on the handle so I can shove my finger in his eye. Like, if you want that kind of shit,
what the fuck?
Let me know in the comment.
Jesus Christ, that's fucking violent. Okay. But yeah, we have a Patreon now because not really we like money. I mean, no, not really because we like money, mostly just because we have a lot of stuff that we record and then don't do anything with. And it's like too low quality and we're too embarrassed to like release it into the public or put it up on YouTube or anything like that. So we're just like, nah, we'll just give it to people who are paying us money.
Well, the idea is right. Like,
the idea is that you're paying us money for lower quality content.
It's just more content.
It's more content. Content.
It's the quantity over quality approach.
Yeah, basically. So you'll get like uncut like podcast episodes. When we do like YouTube videos, believe it or not, despite the fact that they range from like 6 to 20 minutes. We usually record for over an hour for those and then just trim them down. So we'll be uploading the audio for those as well. So
yeah, and there's usually some
maybe
good stuff,
I actually don't know if we have the audio for some like the older episodes anymore. I need to dig them out. Okay. Because I'd probably just
send
need
it
to like
you for you to
resync
mix
them.
or something.
Yeah, I'd probably just like need to remix them and then like align them properly. But
I've tried keeping all the older audio for videos and podcasts and stuff.
Podcasts, yeah.
But yeah, the idea. So there's basically just 2 tiers at present.
Yeah,
you got the $1 tier.
I'd buy that for $1.
I'll buy that for $1 tier.
I'd buy that for $1.
Which is basically just most everything. You get most everything in the $1 tier.
Yeah.
You'll get access. We have a Patreon kind of exclusive channel on our Discord server.
Yeah.
So you'll get access to that. We've had a private channel that we've used for like production stuff that we didn't want.
We're just gonna move that to like a patron channel now because why not?
I mean, we will have that private channel still just for like. I mean, obviously there's shit that we gotta talk about that we don't want even like people that are paying for it. Like we can't have like our fucking full contact information or like money exchange stuff being thrown around in that server, or that channel.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll have like all of our production stuff in the Patreon channel.
Even though we already talk a lot about production stuff just in the Discord channel publicly.
But we don't talk like notes and stuff.
That's
like
true.
I might like make notes while I'm watching a show.
Yeah.
But I'm not like we don't make our notes public. So that's gonna be accessible to people who are in the Patreon server. Which is gonna be a benefit. It's kind of a 2-way benefit for everybody. Because like you'll actually be able to be a little bit involved. So if there's something you like, hey, y'all are talking about this, it'd be cool if y'all kind of touched on this. Like that could be something you can like add to that, and we'll actually kind of take that into account. I mean, obviously, if it's not something that we could feel like we could talk about, we aren't gonna like force it or anything.
Yeah.
But it kind of acts as like feedback, like real time feedback for us as well, where we're like, oh, okay, this is kind of what people want to hear when we're talking about it. So, we kind of have that in mind as we're making the notes and recording and stuff.
Well, you're describing is basically an early access program on Steam, which always bodes well.
Always bodes well. But you'll also have access to like show notes when we do them for like podcast episodes. So you'll have like exclusive knowledge of who's coming up, I guess, for each episode.
Yeah.
And you can ask if you have any questions.
Then be immediately leaked into the rest of the Discord server.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, who cares?
No, it's not that big of a fucking deal. But
no fucking cares.
You'll have access to the fucking show notes where it's like, oh, you should ask him about this, or you should ask him about this. It's, you're burning questions regarding anime for this individual. You can ask, and they might be asked to the person on the show. No promises, though.
So yeah, cut content. Well, I guess they say uncut content, which is, it's surprising how well like that does on Patreon, where it's like, yeah, you get to listen to the full episode, as if that's a good thing for us. But it's like, you will soon realize why we edit these.
They're heavily edited.
Yeah.
But that's the $1 tier. That's most everything. You get like a fucking Patreon roll. They'll probably get expanded on once we have like more shit going on. We kind of know what we want to do with it. That's it for now.
Yeah.
And then the $3 tier is basically exclusive content.
Right.
Like all the shit. Like there's some stuff we've recorded that we're like, yeah, this is fucking horse shit. We ain't gonna fucking make this to a video. That we just have the audio of sitting around, not do anything with. So it's like, we'll put that up there.
We also have some videos that have been like unreleased.
They were partly released. Specifically, there's one that, if anyone remembers the was it the 2021 anime original roundup thing?
Yeah.
There's part 1 of that one that was released
onto YouTube.
Then we had Alvi edit part 2, because I had basically already edited all the audio together. I was like struggling to edit the video because it was like a 40-minute video. And so I released part 1, and then I had Alvi edit part 2, which was just the visuals essentially. Just to kind of like get a feel for how he could kind of handle our styles of editing. And didn't really intend to release it. I thought like maybe if we had an opportunity to, I might. But now I guess we'll just release it on Patreon as the exclusive.
As an exclusive
content tier. Yeah. And then we're also going to be starting to do like just little recordings where we talk about shit.
Yeah, just generally.
Just get more practice, get some more reps in.
It's one of those things where it's, I was literally just thinking in my head, like, oh, these are just filler episodes.
You can get the filler episodes for $3 a month. But yeah, we'll be recording some shit. That will go up. Yeah. Should go up weekly. It's just us like
just
talk about shit.
Yeah, and there won't be like any structure or topic at hand. It will literally just be a completely bullshit conversation.
There might
on top
be
of that, I think it might be fun to do like commentary tracks. That might be cool.
Yeah, just Patreon exclusive commentary tracks.
Yeah.
All the exclusive Patreon content's in the $3 tier.
That shit does really well because it's like, because we could then like do like a commentary track for like Fooly Cooley or something, and then we put like a snippet up of that onto YouTube, and then we have the full version on the Patreon, and then that's what's going to pull people in.
When we rewatch stuff for a video, we can commentate over it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, we've already kind of done that with like, I guess we could we're not going to release shorts reaction audio. That's too lame. Oh my god.
Those are really bad.
That's just like 95% dead air, and then 5% one of us says something funny or stupid, and then that's what gets made into like the YouTube short.
Yeah, essentially.
So I guess beyond just slightly cynical monetization, future of the channel. I mean, we've been growing, which is good. I think it's just a matter of there are new other kinds of guests I want to, because we predominantly just had YouTubers on. Essentially, I think we've maybe only had YouTubers on so far
exclusively. William Chow would be the closest to a non-YouTuber we had on.
Yeah,
he is a YouTuber, but he did not become big on YouTube. Let's put it that way.
So I would like to have like non-YouTubers on. I would like to have people working in the anime industry in some capacity. I would like to have people working like academically when it comes to anime and manga. I'd like to have like people working on people working, more academically on anime manga on as well. I think that'd be really interesting.
Which should be fair. A lot of these people probably aren't outside of our reach at present, really.
No, not really.
But
no.
It does make it easier when you have you do get a greater reach with a larger channel. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
As I say, I think we both have approached this channel very similarly, where we don't really view this. I think we talked about this to Shaves at one point. We don't really view this as like a job. Like this isn't something we're gonna escape from our fucking 9-to-5s and make it big on YouTube.
I have no desire to, with how fucking unstable this shit can be.
Vast majority of the money, I can't say all of it, because if we ever do get to like a point where we're just making fucking obscene amounts of money, there's no fucking telling what the fuck we can have to do at that point. But
we're just gonna
that point is probably like never going to happen, and if it does, we'll reach that bridge when we get there. The majority of the money that we're going to get, we do want to put into the channel itself. We talked about it where we want to have we want to be able to hire artists to do the backgrounds for like each episode to kind of tie it into the aesthetic of the show, or thumbnails. Or like even if we want to do like something off the wall and weird, like we want to explore the content differently. Unfortunately, we're in this weird place where we had to do a trade-off, right? Because these all might be things I could potentially do given enough time. You give a monkey a typewriter, and for infinity, eventually he will produce the entire works of Shakespeare. Given enough time, I might be able to make things, but I don't have that time. Unless you want to wait for the next 20-minute Weeb Crew video in 2024, which actually is not that far off now, but 2025, unfortunately, you have to trade off time for money. So if we want to explore different ways to kind of, express our content, which if you're listening to this on fucking Spotify and shit and you don't ever watch a YouTube content, you don't give a fuck. You're like, I don't give a fuck what the fuck you want to do on YouTube. I don't watch a YouTube. But those who are on YouTube and those who do watch our stuff,
they have a YouTube channel.
I wonder how many people. We are doing better on. You quoted the bullshit statistics. We're not fucking number one in Afghanistan.
Yes, we are. We must stand with our Mujahideen brothers and sisters in Afghanistan, Mumi. We have to fight off the Soviets.
However, we have been doing much better in other countries. We aren't ranked. As of right now, we're ranked like number 3 in the Netherlands in anime. We were number 2, right behind Trash Taste. We're ranked in Germany. We're ranked in New Zealand. We're ranked in the UK and the US. So we're doing pretty good. We have like little mini goals that we set for ourselves. We're like, we want to like get ranked in more countries. I think the goal right now is to get to a point where we don't fall off the chart in the US every fucking episode after like a week.
Yeah.
I don't know how achievable that is. I don't know how. Fucking podcasts are hard. Let's put it that way. There aren't guides.
We don't really understand podcasts.
Well, there aren't guides. Like you can't just go fucking.
And there's like no, unlike YouTube, there's no centralized platform for podcasts. It's like all the fucking over the place, and it makes it very strange from a content creation perspective to know how well your content is even doing, and like being able to like gauge that against other content creators. Because like you look at YouTube, you can just go by views and like subscriber count, stuff like that. But you don't really have anything like that for podcasts, because like someone may be doing, not so well on, I don't know, Podfuck or whatever the hell. But then they're doing like super well on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or I don't know, Pod Pussy, something like that.
Podcast Addict.
So it makes it very like weird to gauge success as a podcast.
Yeah,
I think we'll know. I think that we will know that we've really made it as a podcast in terms of popularity when we start appearing on like random top 10 lists for like best anime podcasts
I wonder if people like submit their shit to be on those though.
I don't know. I also don't know how people really find anime podcasts.
That's
so
the
I don't
problem.
know how to promote.
We don't know. There's no way for us to know.
We
if you
don't know.
If you've ever heard, if you're on YouTube, if you spend a lot of time on YouTube and you've ever heard a YouTuber complain about not understanding YouTube, take the knowledge that if you start a podcast, there's even less information out there than whatever there is on YouTube. And I've grown a greater appreciation for what statistics and analytics there are on YouTube because of trying to grow a podcast on other platforms.
Yeah. Oh, YouTube gives you so much, like in terms of statistics and for like your videos and your channel. You fucking get much. You get like an estimated number of downloads.
Rolling average subscriber count.
Which is like, what the fuck does that even mean?
It basically is a number that's saying there are no subscriber counts. We're just vaguely estimating based on how many downloads you get within X amount of time.
Guessing. Yeah. So that's very frustrating. And it's like, because like I've tried looking for anime podcasts and stuff before, and it's like I will, searching on Spotify, you get some results. Can't fucking search on YouTube, that's for sure. Jesus Christ, YouTube search algorithm is dog shit. You go to Google and you're just going to get like top 50 anime podcasts, and it's always like the same ones, and it's always really weird, the ones that are at the top, where it's like they haven't uploaded in 2 years, but I guess they're still like one of the most downloaded podcasts, and it's like, fucking why? What?
And it's not even like popular. Like it's not like it's like the biggest podcast. It's not like Trash Taste, and they just like stopped uploading like 3 years ago, and like they're still getting downloads. Like this is like random fucking people.
Yeah, it's not like you're seeing Pod Taku on the fucking like topping these charts.
No, like it's just a random person did like 5 episodes, and like they're somehow in like the top 10 for some reason. You're like, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah.
But
so yeah, it's fucking weird. We don't really get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes. We're definitely, I think we've done a good job streamlining. It's very much thanks to Sai. Everyone give him a round of applause. He's done a good job.
Yay.
Done a great job getting podcasts out on a regular basis. The videos I've been trying to focus on. I've not done as well of a job getting this out. You will not know that until I guess probably 4 weeks from now, where either this video is out or it's not.
That's the main thing going forward, at least for like the channel, unless so the podcast is getting videos out more frequently and sort of overcoming this content creation bottleneck that we have in the editing phase.
Yeah.
Which is just fucking painful.
Again, this is what money would be going into like paying an editor.
Our ideal situation is to be able to put a podcast out on like one Friday, and then the next Friday a regular video, and then podcast, and then regular video, and just alternate weekly.
If we could get to that point.
If we could ever get to that point where we can like where we could put out like an edited video, like our Zom 100 video or our Isekai Oji-san video or Shonen Baku Sozoku. If we could get those out on like a 2-week basis, that would be kind of insane.
Yeah, I think the schedule that we kind of talked about and the idea I had was the podcast every other week, and then every other week is a video, but like 1 week will be like a larger video, like a Shonen Baku Sozoku or Isekai Oji-san, and the other week, the following week of video would be like a shorter kind of, I don't know, like subs versus dubs or something, or like the zombie isekai one, Zom 100 video, like shorter videos like that, and we would alternate shorter video podcast, longer video podcast, shorter video.
Yeah,
and then that would give me like 6 weeks or so, I think it came out to work on a video, and that would give a potential other editor 6 weeks to work on a smaller video or whatever. Which I think is very achievable. Like, I don't think that's like unreasonable to like think that we could do that, but
yeah, I mean, fuck, you look at like Spilling the Milk, and they're able to like, I mean, their videos aren't as intensively edited, but they're still edited, and they get those like out like daily somehow.
Yeah, I mean,
we could just harness a fraction of that,
a fraction of that autism. But they're getting like they have a lot of editors.
Yeah, they have like a legion of people working for them.
And they don't have to do as much like research or anything, obviously, to make their videos.
Yeah,
They're just reacting.
But they're also putting them out more frequently. And we're putting them out less frequently. So it is achievable. It's just we're still trying to figure out how to actually achieve that.
Part of that is finding editors. We do have Alvi. He worked on the Summit video, which this releases how it's supposed to, would have been out last week for y'all in the future listening to this.
If you're a few days ago, if you're listening to this on like just regular podcast platforms, last week, if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yeah. He edited that video all himself. So round of applause to Alvi. Round of applause.
Yeah.
Did a good job. He actually did a really good job. It was interesting.
He really did, yeah.
It's interesting watching someone else like work on your content. Because like, you know, when I'd have you help on like the Licorice Recoil and like Cyberpunk videos, like there would be some edits that you would do here and there, and I'm like, I wouldn't have thought to do it that way.
If you've seen like if you go to the Bocchi the Rock intro, like the start of the Bocchi the Rock video, and you're wondering why Curb Your Enthusiasm keeps coming up, I just did that because I thought it was funny.
They're very different editing styles. I think Alvi did a good job.
Different senses of humor.
Yeah, I think Alvi did a good job in capturing our general style.
Yeah,
but he also has like he's more geared to like details in like transitions and like the editing work itself. Where I'm very much more just databasey. Where I just pull from random shit and
right, yeah.
People are like, how the fuck do you remember this fucking random scene screenshot you pulled from KKK talking about catching fire or whatever the fuck? Like, why the fuck would you remember this?
What we're trying to say is if you're an editor looking for work, we will pay you. We may not pay you much, but we will pay you.
Well, we could pay you more.
Pay you probably adequately.
We could pay you more if you like and subscribe, hit that bell and
hit that bell.
We get more eyes, which I'm hoping, us releasing content more frequently will help in that regard because hopefully is able to like build it. It's definitely helped with the podcast platforms. Like it's very
definitely. Yeah.
There's a very tangential 1-to-1 ratio of like how frequently we upload and how well we're doing on those platforms.
So you're saying we need to start doing daily uploads?
No. Absolutely not.
Absolutely fucking not.
But yeah, we're trying. We got stuff going on behind the scenes. We're trying to improve shit.
We're grinding. We're struggling.
You might notice I changed a lot of the thumbnails, for the podcast, and that's by extension been changing the cover art on like Spotify and Apple Podcasts for each episode. I don't know how that kind of translates traffic wise on those platforms, but hopefully it kind of helps, make our stuff more clickable on YouTube at the very least. We're trying our best. We both got full-time fucking jobs. Okay. We're not, the fact that we've somehow managed to string together like 4 or 5 weeks of like weekly content is a fucking miracle.
Is a fucking miracle, yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, we're always trying to like figure out how to do thumbnails. I'm always trying to figure out how to do thumbnails better.
Yeah, I don't really handle the thumbnail side. Mumi's a much more talented graphic designer.
I try. I don't know if I'm talented, but I try.
You really love that smudge tool.
Well, it kind of stems again. I'll do my fucking video essayist bullshit. Tie this back into the earlier topic of discussion, because like I was very much into kind of more like realist art, and specifically like I really specifically like sketching and stuff. So with that, you would take like different levels of pencils. Like you take a number 2 pencil and a number 3 pencil, number 4, and like you do different layers, and then you would smudge those together.
Number 3 and 4 pencils? What the fuck?
Yes, so it determines like how dark the pencil is going to be and like how light it is.
This is a earth-shattering revelation.
And so you use different levels of pencil and as like shading, and then when you blend them, they don't, because like if you blend like if you just draw all together with number 2 pencil and you blend all that together, you can just like make it all just like a smudge because it's like the same level of graphite or whatever. Whereas if you use
Mhm.
different levels, then you can smudge them together. I got really into that when I did like drawing, and so like I'm pretty decent with like the smudge tool on fucking Photoshop because it's very much like similar to like that kind of skill set or mentality or whatever. But yeah, we like I made the stickers as like an idea for like, you know, maybe we can have people hand them out, do some little guerrilla advertising or something. Like I didn't just make it to make money on people. Like if you want to buy them,
Yeah.
awesome. But it was more for like, you know, being able to hand out at like conventions or something.
Yeah. Our own ability to like self promote in weird, in more public ways.
Always,
No.
I'm probably always thinking about this kind of shit on some level. Like I might not be like obviously at work, I'm not sitting there like, oh my god, how am I gonna fucking promote the podcast while I'm like fucking doing shit.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I always like am thinking like, oh, like even in like the background, I'm like, oh, what can I do for this thumbnail, or like what can we do for the next episode? And like we planned this shit out pretty far in advance, right? Like I think we talked about it a little bit with well, I guess it's going to be the next episode after this. Won't spoil who's on that episode for you guys. But we talk about with that where when we recorded the episode with him, the second Roger episode still wasn't out. Like it just got up or like it was about to go up. And then we had the episode with FD recorded. And so we were recording with him with 2 episodes in the chamber. Like, and we've got the next guest after him kind of already lined up. We haven't recorded with him yet because we're recording this episode instead.
Yeah.
But we got that episode lined up, and then we're always I think we're gonna approach like guests and stuff. We want to alternate larger guests, smaller guests, larger guests, smaller guests, because I think we're at a point now that we can kind of do that. It would have been much harder to do smaller guests when we were smaller, because it would have, you know, you get somebody who's got, you know, 500 subscribers or something, and you've got 500 subscribers, that video is gonna fucking tank hard. So it really hurts like your growth. But I think we're getting to a point where we can alternate it and do pretty well. Kind of use the momentum from the larger channels to help out the smaller channels, and that kind of goes along with you know, kind of promoting discourse in the way that we kind of talked about earlier, where we can kind of help smaller channels by, you know, we're getting help from larger channels and their audience. You know, FD came on, was very gracious, and, you know, shouted out our podcast episode he did with us on his channel, and we can kind of extend that to our guests.
We'd like to pay it forward, I
yeah,
guess.
like, because the way I view it is like, if everyone in the space is doing well, you're generally like improving the space. Like it's not just like, it shouldn't be like this competition where like, oh, I got to get more subscribers than that guy because he's an asshole or something. It's like, well, you are competition in a way, but you can both exist in the same space. Like they can watch your video after they watch that guy's video and vice versa.
Yeah.
It's like, he's like, oh, I got to watch one or the other. So it's like, you know, they improve, the general level of discourse improves, your experience improves, just everybody wins, right? That's kind of how I view a lot of our shit. That's why I like doing like the Anatube audit streams and shit, which I guess we didn't talk about. We do a little bit of streaming.
Yeah, we have also started doing that,
which those have done pretty well.
Yeah, surprisingly so.
I was talking to some people. I haven't talked to you about this off stream or off the podcast yet, but I was talking to some people who also do streaming on YouTube and stuff, and they were like, "Wow, y'all are doing like really good numbers for your size." Because we had very similar numbers to theirs, and their channel was like 40 times larger than ours. But that kind of tying into like the idea for that, I kind of want to, you know, we'll tip our hand a little bit. I kind of want to bring on, you know, people to come talk about that with us, because you know, we're just two assholes, right? We're just two guys fucking with a almost 3,000 subscriber channel now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we want to get MrBeast on.
yeah, MrBeast could come talk about how to improve your video. But no, I think it'll be good to like have people that are kind of larger in the same space as the people that we're talking about, so they could be like, oh yeah, I see what you're kind of doing. Maybe this is how you can kind of improve, and it be from a place of like, I'm in the same kind of content sphere you are, right? Like not just anime, but you know, if they're doing like historical deep dives or something, or just, you know, boomer content, like just remember 1972 or you know, that kind of shit, like that kind of mentality, right?
Yeah.
I think we're doing some cool things. I'm kind of happy with where we're at and what we've been doing. But yeah, if you listen to the whole thing, you're one of the real ones, I guess. We kind of just been it's kind of just been like a state of the channel address, I guess. We talked about some cool stuff and then kind of just rambled about shit here toward the end. But
maybe we'll do this again next October.
No.
Who knows?
No. I have no intention to do this again next October. I didn't have any intention to do it last year. This year it just felt like, oh yeah, we've come far enough. I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah, the channel's mutated. Maybe if the channel's mutated sufficiently in another year's time, we will.
True. I can't say for sure. Definitely not. Maybe if we just suddenly become like a 100,000 subscriber channel by next year, and I don't know, we're like cranking out some Family Guy reaction shorts.
Cranking out videos and podcasts once a week. Holy fuck!
Maybe we'll come back on next year and be like, "Yo, that was crazy." Like remember last year?
We get like Michael B. Jordan on the podcast or something.
Yeah, I had an idea. You can cut this part and we can just make this the ending. Like, you know, I had the idea of like just spam messaging like a bunch of celebrities on like social media platforms.
I saw you talking about that. That's not going to work.
I don't know. Maybe one of them will be like, "Yeah, I like this anime," and you're like, "Oh yeah, you want to go talk about it?" It's like, "Yeah, I'll go talk about it because I've done those."
That's not. We're going to get like. We're going to get like Ernie Hudson. We're going to get like D-list celebrities who have to go to conventions in order to like feed themselves.
Hey, you got to start somewhere, right? Like,
yeah.
Can't pull Joe Rogan. Can't pull the Joe Rogan approach by starting with
That's true. I mean, just look at Hot Ones and how they started out, you know?
Yeah. You got to start somewhere. I mean, technically we started with some like YouTubers, but
well, you know, so yeah, I think we're both pretty happy with how the channel's turned out. It's definitely turned out quite a bit. Probably, I'd say it's definitely turned out differently from what I initially expected this fucking channel to be. But I would say I'm overall pretty proud of what we've managed to achieve so far.
Yeah, not everything. I don't really care shit about like the reaction shorts. They're all right. I don't hate them.
Yeah, I like them. The problem with shorts is one, they don't really translate to growth in the rest of your channel. Shorts are like a very insular thing.
Yeah.
But also, fuck, they're shorts, but they still, for us anyway, they still take like a day's worth of editing to make.
Yeah, I've talked about this where it's like, if you are gonna turn on your phone, like if we could somehow like do some kind of weird VR rig or something where like our avatar like just was like over the screen and like talking or something, and like we just hold our phone up and do some shit for like and take like 10 minutes, that'd be one thing. But like the fact that we had to edit it takes like,
yeah,
even though it's not like a terribly long time, it only takes like maybe 2 to 4 hours at most to edit.
And then someone who makes shorts is listening to this going like, what the fuck, they spent 2 to 4 hours on those?
Exactly. Like, because we don't show our face, so like that makes an entirely different element. They're also not like live action or something where we're like reacting to something.
Yeah, and also and really to be successful with shorts, you need to like keep pumping them out, because success is more or less a shotgun blast, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like you'll upload 10 and then only one ends up doing numbers, if that.
Yeah.
And that's essentially how TikTok works. how YouTube Shorts work across the board, seemingly, where you're really just relying on those big hits, those Rebecca shorts, essentially.
Well, because when they hit big, they can recommend your other shit, and like they do better numbers as a result. So,
Kinda.
Shorts specifically, I mean.
Shorts, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if a short takes off, it's also very possible it just won't recommend that YouTubers like regular videos if they make them.
I will say there is a direct correlation with how our video traffic is doing, like our actual videos, and like how shorts traffic does. Like the Comey short specifically, that's the one that's doing the most numbers for us right now. When the FD video was like doing its peak numbers, it was doing like
that saw an uptick.
Yeah. And I think that's because like it's getting put into people's feeds who watched our videos. I don't think there's much like crossover growth though. Like I do think there is some crossover growth.
So I think if you watch our regular videos, we might appear more in your shorts feed. But if you watch us in your shorts feed, our regular videos probably won't show up in like your recommended.
Well, they might, but like people don't click on them. They're not watching them. Because like if you're watching the shorts feed, you're not watching the videos. Or you're not interested in art. Like I know the people whose shorts I watch, I'm not necessarily always interested in their videos, right? But I think that it's better actually on TikTok. Because we got like 500 followers on TikTok from a short, and that translated to almost like 50 subs on YouTube.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. Yeah. So you're saying we should just say fuck YouTube Shorts, just stick with TikTok?
We can do both. I mean,
we can do both.
If we're making shorts,
again, it's one of those things. We'd like to do this. We just don't have the time.
Don't have time,
and we really need to have we would basically. It's not really just a matter of having a dedicated shorts editor, but also having enough content to ingest into like a shorts production feed in order to have and you really need to hit like daily uploads with shorts.
I don't think you have to do daily. I think you do weekly. Like I think even YouTube recommends people that upload one short a week see more growth than people that don't upload one short a week or something. They don't tell you that growth is probably not translating to your videos.
Yeah. Well, YouTube really wants to promote shorts to compete with TikTok.
Yeah.
And also YouTube's now like really starting to get into like podcasting as well, which is interesting.
Good for us.
I mean, yeah, it's good for us because we still are very much a YouTube centric podcast. Although we're trying to grow on other platforms. So we'll see how that pans out for us, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird because like you look at our channel and we're not like a big channel.
No, we're not.
Like you look at our numbers on our videos and it's like they're not terrible numbers, but they're not really good. Like you're not gonna like look at this person and be like, oh, this person averages like 1,000 views, 800 views. 1,900 views. They're doing really gangbusters.
Yeah.
But I think we're like in the top 5%, if not higher, of podcasts on like anime podcasts on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of anime podcasts on YouTube that are just they get like 5 views and it's just people talking into their webcams.
There's that. But like even people like it's weird. Have you ever gone and looked at like the top charted podcasts on Apple Podcasts, and then looked at the YouTube channels?
Yeah, their YouTube channels, and it's like they get like maybe 100 views on like their podcast uploads on YouTube, but yet they're doing so well on like the actual dedicated podcast platforms. It's very strange. I don't fucking understand it.
It just shows that we're like how kind of skewed we are toward YouTube compared to like. The podcast platform, which I think a lot of that is because of, are not uploading more frequently, which I think is improving now. I think that's why we're starting to see in the improvement we are.
Yeah. Oh, I'd say definitely. Yeah. Consistency when it comes to podcasts is definitely like, I think what matters most. And that's something we neglected for a very long time, which is why we've been doing this for 2 years. But you'll see that this episode number is only like 17, which means basically like less than one upload per month.
Well, as of 6 months ago, we were on episode 9. If that puts things in perspective of how quickly
we've definitely been ticking upwards. Ideally, doing this every other week, we'll be doing like 24 episodes a year.
Yeah, that's 24 episodes. God damn. I didn't even think about that.
So I guess going forward into like 2024 or whatever, we will hopefully have put out more podcast episodes in 2024 than we will have in like the previous like 2 or 3 years.
Well, you see, you're calling me out earlier for saying that thing about the video. There's gonna be some asshole that's gonna be like, come back here in like December 2024 and be like, y'all only put out 22 episodes last year.
22. You guys have been slacking, and it's like
that you wanted 24.
I guess you're fucking right.
We probably won't even be 22. It'd probably be like maybe 16 or 18 if we're.
We'll see. We'll see. Well, I mean, I think we've been pretty good so far, hitting like a 2-week schedule, apart from when I was moving, which fucked things up. But other than that, there's no reason for us not to be able to hit that schedule now, apart from me just being lazy.
I think we'll do good. I think we're in a good spot, and I think we got bright things in the future. Won't go into specifics. We got the video I mentioned. We got another video in the pipeline that's already recorded.
We've got another video after that. We have a lot of videos planned.
We have two guests already kind of penciled in and planned.
We have a video planned for December, and it needs to come out in December for a very specific reason. We have another video hopefully planned for October that will come out either late October or very early November, and then maybe something in the middle or late November.
We'll see what happens.
Just as like regular videos. We'll see.
Yeah, if you the
December video, depending on how it pans out, by the way, may be a fucking behemoth of a video.
Would be nice. I was talking about this. I was like, man, we've not had one video that really did super well in the algorithm. I mean, like,
oh no, I mean in terms of length.
Oh,
like the size of the video could be very, very large.
Ye of little faith.
See, I'll be interested to see you cut down like 3 hours worth of recording into 10 minutes.
I could do it because it'd be really easy to cut it down.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not going to be over an hour certainly. But probably at least 30 minutes is what I would imagine.
Maybe. I might leave it at 30 minutes just because people seem to like that for some reason.
Yeah.
We'll see. I could, again, as I said, I'll have to feel out how that video is going to go. Like every video, it makes it very unhelpful as far as like trying to direct people how to do things. Because it's not like I went to school for this shit. I just like kind of picked it up as I went along. Yeah. So people are like, oh, like Albie's like, oh, how do you do this thing? I'm like, let me show you. I just filled it out. I was doing it this way. Fuck it. This is how I feel. I just feel things out. I just feel the pacing out. That's how it works.
So yeah, we have a lot of things planned, and hopefully going into the future, we will definitely be able to put out podcasts on a more consistent basis, and then hopefully be able to put out more short form, heavily edited videos on a more regular basis as well. I think at the very least, our goal right now should be getting one out per month.
Yeah, that's achievable for where we're at, I think.
Yeah, especially because like I know like the major bottleneck originally was like, for anyone who doesn't know, our original podcast production pipeline was we would record. Mumi would give me the audio, I would mix and do like a preliminary edit, and then I would give him the audio and he would do a secondary edit on top of that. And that just ended up adding like a lot of time into the overall production process. Whereas now I'm only the one editing, and then I just pass him off the audio to then upload to the RSS feed and put stuff up on YouTube. So him not having to edit the podcast has freed him up to edit, just the actual videos themselves.
Which I was able to get the Zom 100 video out relatively quickly.
Yeah, you were. You were able to get it out before the show ends. And then again, it's also looking like the show is going to end for months now.
We'll say I was able to get it out before the show would have ended. Really, it was like I was at the halfway point, really.
It was.
Good job. I did a good job. I'll give Mumi a round of applause for getting the 6-minute video out.
Yeah. I don't know how to close this off, really. Do you want me to yell like I used to?
No.